I hear cranes. And I see cranes. Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to Meet Your Watershed. I'm Kathy Grant, City of Lodi, Watershed Program Coordinator, and today we're out here in a very special place. Where are we, Mamie? Come tell us.
We are at the Phil and Marilyn Eisenberg Sandhill Crane Reserve, otherwise known as the Woodbridge Ecological Reserve. And this is the south unit. It's about 2.5 miles west of Interstate 5. And we are at 0 elevation.
So what's special about this place is that it's actually managed by the Department of Fish and Wildlife, State of California. And with us today, we also have that manager, and you are?
My name is Ryan Carruthers. I'm a biologist with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and I work here in the Delta. As Kathy mentioned, one of my responsibilities is overseeing the management of this property, the Woodbridge Ecological Reserve. And there's a lot that goes into that. Basically, it's a seasonal wetland, which is an important part of the Sandhill Cranes' life history. They rely on these ponds here to roost at night when they're here during the winter time. So the Sandhill Cranes, they're a migratory species. We have two subspecies of Sandhill Cranes here. We have the lesser Sandhill Crane in large numbers, and then the greater Sandhill Crane. The greater Sandhill Crane, during the summertime and during the breeding season in the spring, they migrate to Northern California and Eastern Oregon, not very far, and that's where they'll be. But then come wintertime, they migrate back here to hang out with us. And so the Woodbridge Ecological Reserve is composed of, as I mentioned, seasonal wetlands, and they're managed wetlands, which means they wouldn't be here if someone wasn't here to put water on them.
Yeah, so tell me about that water. It's special water, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So we're here in the heart of the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta, and all of the water here is fresh water that we put on the property from the Delta. To our south is Hog Slough. You can't see it, but it's on the back side of that levee. And Hog Slough gets its water from the Mokelumne River. And so that water will open the gates, and we flood this property for the cranes.
So that's the same water that might have been in Lodi Lake?
Sure.
Or flowed past the city of Lodi?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the Ecological Reserve here is in a really prime location for the Sandhill Cranes, because this is where the birds spend the night. This is their bedroom. But during the daytime, they really don't hang out here. Early in the morning, first light, they'll get up and fly, and they'll fly out to all the pasture land and the alfalfa ground and grain fields nearby that are all mostly part of a local dairy. And so during the daytime, cranes are out foraging, and they'll spend the whole day out there. And then come sunset, they all start making their way back to these ponds to spend the night.
For the city of Lodi, it's important that we want to make sure that the students and community that's watching these videos understands that whatever the city of Lodi is doing in town, on their streets, washing their cars, dropping trash, or over-fertilizing, even pesticides and herbicides, can possibly end up in this water, in the runoff, which might impact the birds. So it's a good idea to be a good steward in Lodi, but also it's a good idea to understand your watershed. So that's why we're taking the time today to help you guys on the other side of that camera to understand the Mokelumne River watershed a little bit better. Hey, we're at a secret location now. We're at the north unit on Woodbridge Road, across the road from where we just were, which was the south unit. And this is another place that the Sandhill Cranes have a evening roost. So the fields behind me have been flooded up, and we're ready for the birds to come in. We're waiting. The docents are here, and we're watching, and I want you to meet them. Come on over. Hey, Alan, what you got around in there?
Oh, this is a kind of like a measure, and what's real cool about it is this is how tall a greater Sandhill crane is. Those are the ones around here. The other thing that's neat about this is I can hold this out. That's a long way, and then I go a little more. That's 7 feet. That's how long the wingspan is of one of these birds. The other thing I've got in my pocket here is a little pair of ballet slippers. The birds do what we call crane dances. This is how they talk to each other, communicate. They jump up and down and do all sorts of really neat stuff.
So these are called metaphors, and this is what docents will use to tell stories. Let's see some more metaphors. Got a metaphor for me, Jolie?
I do. I have two.
I like dinosaurs.
They are kind of neat. They're no longer.
Dinosaurs and cranes?
Well, you know what? They have found bones from cranes that are as same age as bones from dinosaurs, which tell us that they lived the same time, which was like a gajillion million years ago.
Wow.
So they're very old birds here.
That have been coming back to this
Here.
spot.
Yes.
Since the dinosaurs.
Yes. Pretty cool, huh?
Very good.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Oh,
thank
what you got there?
Well, I have a model of a Sandhill crane here.
Wow.
And I've got something really interesting to show you. They have a red on their heads, as you can see here. But the strange thing is it's not feathers. It's actually skin. And it's kind of like on turkeys or on chickens where they have skin around their beaks. This skin is a little bit like this balloon in that when a crane gets angry or upset, that red area will get bigger, kind of like when you blow up a balloon, and it gets smaller when they're calm. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and no feathers.
No feathers.
on
It's
them.
really skin up there.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Whoa, Charlie, what do you have there?
I have this tube. This tube is like the neck and trachea of the Sandhill crane. Because their neck is only about 24 inches long, but their trachea, the part that makes their noise, is about 48 inches long.
Windpipe. Very cool. I like it. So that's why we can hear them way up there.
Yes, you can
above.
hear them for miles.
So we're going to hear them here in a little bit. So pay attention.
Yes.
Thank you, Charlie. What do you got there, Mimi?
I have something that represents how the cranes eat. They have a claw. They don't have a webbed foot like a duck. They have a claw. And they get down there in the soil and into the wet, into the marsh, and they dig up seeds and they'll dig up grain out in the fields, and then that's their primary food source. Now, they might attack with their long beak a small lizard or a small vole or mouse out there, but most of the food that they eat here is seeds and grains, which is why it's so important to have the additional habitat around the water. And this represents about 8 pounds. That's about what a lesser sandhill crane weighs, and a greater might weigh up over 10 pounds. Most of what you see is feathers. They don't weigh as much as you think.
Wow, interesting. Thank you. And what have you got? It's
Hey,
really
hi.
cute. Hey, Jane, what do you got?
So this is the size of a sandhill crane egg when they're when they're laid by the mom, and they're not laid here. This down here, they don't make eggs down here. So the egg hatches, and then it turns into this very cute little chick, and it will grow from this size here to this size in less than 90 days because it has to be ready to fly to come down here to spend the winter because there's food and water here for them.
Wow.
Yeah,
So the birds are here some of the time, and then they leave to go back.
right.
Wow, thank you. So
You're
this is
welcome.
a really special place where we are right now in the lower Mokelumne River watershed. Out behind me, behind us, you can see there's water. That's Mokelumne River water that the fishing wildlife folks have put onto this field so that the birds, in a little bit, are going to fly into this and spend the night standing in the water. How deep is it? About 4 to 6 inches deep, and that protects the birds from predators. So we're hoping that all of you who are listening are good stewards of the Mokelumne River watershed, because the water in town in Lodi, when it runs off your streets, when it's raining, it's been raining here lately, this is December now, it's been raining, and that runoff heads to the Mokelumne River. It drains off the landscape, it comes out to the river, it flows down the channels and through the sloughs, and then it ends up in these fields, and the birds stand in it. So we're hoping that you will help us conserve the precious resources that these birds need, which would be water and space and vegetation and docents to keep the program going. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you out on the road sometime. South Unit. Bye.